Titans reporter Turron Davenport, and you are tuned into the Titans Upload Network.
Whether it's the regular season or the off-season, we have you covered as we give you the best Tennessee Titans and NFL news and insight that a fan could ask for. You're watching the Titan Upload Network.
What is going on, everybody? We're excited to be here today. We're back for another edition of Wake Up Nashville with yours truly, Titans ROSSI. But we also got an awesome guest on the show today, a longtime friend of the network, James Foster, known as No Flags Film on X. Also has an awesome channel with AtoZ. He's with AtoZ Sports now, but AtoZ Film Room. If you have not checked out that channel, it is one of those channels where, like, when a video pops up, I make sure and watch it. Every single video. The guy does fantastic work over there. Breakdowns, player breakdowns. He is a student of the game, and we're happy to have you here, James. We'll just kind of get right into it with this Titans and Bears. It's finally good that the season has started. We have some actual stuff to talk about, which is nice, rather than just predictions and speculations and, you know, all this type of stuff. But I want to get to the good first. You know, like, we all know, like, obviously the defense has played well, but just kind of more specifics. You know, what were your positive takeaways from the Titans versus Bears?
Yeah, I thought the biggest positive takeaway was what T'Vondre Sweat looked like. I mean, he was pretty much immovable in the run game. There were, you know, if you look at his stat line on like ESPN or something, I think he had 0 tackles and 2 pressures. So it's not an impressive stat line, but you're going to have to get used to that with nose tackles. Like, it's not a position where you rack up a bunch of stats. It's about doing your job and creating opportunities for other players. And in the run game, like, he was just on a snap to snap basis, immovable, held his point in the A gap. There were so many plays where, you know, they're trying to hit it up the middle and there's just no space. DeAndre Swift has to be indecisive, cut back. And at that point, it messes up the timing of the play and kind of funnels the ball carrier into other opportunities. There was a run, I'm sure you remember it, where, like, he quickly beats a block from Tevin Jenkins, gets into the backfield, doesn't actually make the tackle, but flushes him out to, I think, Roger McCreary. So really, really good in the run game. And then I think as a pass rusher, like, he had a couple really quick wins. There was a throw at about the 50-yard line where he beats Tevin Jenkins with a club swim, gets into the pocket, pressures the quarterback, forces Caleb Williams to roll out to his left, and he has to make a really difficult throw that ends up being slightly inaccurate. Another play where he bull rushed Tevin Jenkins, flattened him. Caleb Williams actually had DJ Moore, or I think it might have been Keenan Allen, wide open down the left sideline. He beat L'Jarius Sneed for what would have been a touchdown, but T'Vondre Sweat pressures him, forces him to throw off his back foot, and it's overthrown by about 4 yards. So I think T'Vondre Sweat was one of the Titans' best performers on defense and really overall. But I think for a rookie that we aren't sure what we're going to get from any rookie, it's great to see that. He was definitely the most encouraging performance.
Yeah, man. And it, you know, with all the stuff that came out, like pre-draft, post-draft, you know, all the criticisms, I mean, the guy has really done nothing but impress. I mean, he was there in training, and that's what I said before, you know, after the draft, I was like, hey, as long as he's there in training camp and he's there practicing and he's there doing his thing, like, I'm all cool with it. And the guy can really be a force in this league, and I think we've seen it, you know, like, and he played a fair amount of snaps too. Like, he played quite a few snaps, and he did the thing, man. And it's exciting to see. And with this defense overall, like, I mean, you know, it being the first game, rookie quarterback, his very first game of his NFL career, can the Titans be, obviously, these type of numbers are not something that's sustainable week in and week out. Like, under 150 yards a game, this and that. You're going to play really premier quarterbacks and teams. But is this indicative of what the Titans defense could be? I mean, can they be a top 10 defense this season?
Yeah, I think they absolutely could be a top 10 defense. You hit on a good point, which is that the extremely good defensive performance at this level probably isn't going to sustain, because you look at, a lot of the plays from last Sunday, there were some missed opportunities from the Bears that a better offense would probably convert. Caleb Williams had the wide open touchdown that I forget who dropped it, on the speed out right on the goal.
Yeah.
That would have been a touchdown. I mentioned the play down the sideline where Sweat forces the pressure, but Keenan Allen was open. So there were some missed opportunities for the Bears. I also think they had a little bit more success in the second half, especially when they were trying to ice out the game at running to the outside, especially. That's going to have to be the strategy for opposing offenses, is just ignore the inside zone, ignore halfback dive. You're not really going to run through the A gaps, but they were able to get some nice gains to the outside. So there's stuff to clean up, and it's not going to be the 85 Bears or anything, but I think this is a playoff caliber top 10 type of defense for sure.
Right. What about the Bears defense? I mean, are they as good as advertised?
Well, I think that the back seven for the Bears is very good. You got Jalen Johnson, who is one of the best corners in the NFL. Tyreek Stevenson had a really good finish to last year and kind of picked up where he left off. He was helped by one of the worst throws that I've ever seen from Will Levis, but had some other nice plays as well. And then they've got really good linebackers with TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. The front four, heading into the season, I viewed it as one of the worst front fours in the NFL, which makes me a little bit discouraged for the Titans offensive line. It's not like they faced the Niners in week one and you can just say, well, they're not going to face Nick Bosa every week. I mean, Darrell Taylor and DeMarcus Walker at edge is not exactly a formidable duo. They've got Montez Sweat, who's pretty much a one-man army as far as a pass rush. But when we look at J.C. Latham, he was really only matched up with DeMarcus Walker and Darrell Taylor. Taylor was traded for a 6th-round pick. DeMarcus Walker, the Titans weren't interested in re-signing. He's been kind of a fringe starter for most of his career. So, I think there are some questions up front, and we'll see if players have developed in the offseason, obviously. But I think that it's a similar caliber defense to the Titans for sure. Got to see Gervon Dexter, who's a second-year player. You need to jump from him. Maybe they can get something from the rookie out of Kansas, Austin Booker, who flashed in the preseason.
Right. And you had posted this stat on your Twitter. The Titans pressures allowed. I'm curious to see what the pressures were for the Titans, player by player. I'll have to look that up later, see how many pressures Sweat had exactly and all that. But
for the Titans, they had Harold Landry had 3, and then Tavondre Sweat and Sebastian Joseph Day had 2, and then there were 5 players that had 1.
Okay, well there you go. And Latham with the 5 allowed. You had MPF with 3. I mean, the 2 tackles. I mean, it's rough. Out
of every team in the NFL, the Titans tackle duo allowed the most pressures of any team.
Man, and it's rough. And I mean, most pressures faced week 1% of drop packs. Week 1 percentage of dropbacks. Will Levis had 47.4, which was second in the league, and it's tough, man. Here we go again, right, with the offensive line. And honestly, I mean, first game for Latham, in my opinion, kind of expected. but like you said, he was facing Darrell Taylor, which is not like some premier awesome pass rushing phenom. And what do you think? I mean, what do you think about Latham, man? His first performance. I mean, obviously he led up to pressures, but overall.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning. On the one hand, rookie offensive linemen are almost always bad. Like that should be the expectation, is that a rookie, you're not going to draft a rookie, even in the first round, and get really good play from them. That's the exception to the rule. So that's kind of a point in Latham's favor. But like I mentioned, this is like the second easiest matchup that he's going to have all year. They played the Commanders, and I think week 16 or 17, they have one of the worst groups of edge rushers in the NFL. So that's probably his easiest matchup. But this was supposed to be like a warm up game against some average competition. And he did not look good. So, there's some technique stuff where it's like he's the strip sack, for example, he was way too committed. He was kind of like expecting a stunt, and so he was squeezing in on the guard and way too committed to watching for the looper, and he just let Darrell Taylor run uncontested around his outside. So there's technique stuff that he can fix, but yeah, you need some major improvement from him. I will say it's still not close to the level of Dennis Daly, Andre Dillard, or Jalen Duncan. I guess if the takeaway is just don't have a tackle with the last name that starts with a D, I guess. But like that was just unplayable tackle play. I still think with the way that JC Latham played, and if you get some moderate improvement over his rookie year, like you can put together a good offense, with him at tackle.
Right, and you had posted this on X, just some of your lowlights, I guess, from Latham's play on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, you could see. And what do you think it is? I mean, why is he getting beat? Obviously, we're playing this video here, but what's the issues? I mean, you mentioned techniques, but what's the main issues you see?
Yeah, it's undersets, so like not getting enough depth in his kick steps, and then a couple times that he was late to react to inside counters and let pass rushers cross his face. I think that it was a lot more of him just being like overwhelmed from a mental standpoint, and I think that I am still optimistic that he can improve, but got to really tighten up that footwork. I mean, I think that Peter Skoronski was honestly, his performance was more concerning to me because he's in his second year, and he was kind of getting worked in pass pro.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to bring up too. Somebody brought it up in the chat. Yeah, I mean, that's concerning. I mean, hopefully, because we're expecting Skoronski. I think the level of expectation for Skoronski this season is super high, and it very well should be. After the appendix thing last season, he never really got back to that strength until kind of the very end, I guess. But we're expecting a lot out of Skoronski, and this offensive line is going to be put under the microscope all season. I mean, that's just the way it is, considering how bad they were. And yeah, Phil says tighten up that footwork for sure. And yeah, I mean, Alt was off the board, obviously. So I didn't really see Joe Alt's play. But obviously I think, if he was available, I mean, the Titans more than likely would have took them, although they did say that Sweat was their offensive lineman of the draft, or their best offensive lineman in their opinion. Who knows? Like, if Alt would have been available, I think it'd be hard to pass up on him. I don't know. But another weird thing in the game, another low light, Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans has kind of been hammering on this, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it too. Will Levis, there were times in the game where, and Bill Callahan even talked about it. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and play this clip about it. He's directly talking about the drifting that Will Levis was doing, and then we'll talk about it.
There's a couple times, where he didn't need to drift in the pocket. And those are things that you don't see until it's live. And everything in training camp looked good, solid. He was playing well, playing with confidence, and his footwork was exactly what we were looking for. And then in the game, some things kind of reverted back. I think that's kind of true across most of the positions, especially our younger players. We had some technique reversions and some things that just didn't show up the way they had shown up in practice. And that was the disappointing part for me, was just to see some of those things that we think we've gotten fixed that showed up again in a game situation. So that part was again disappointing.
So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? It was almost like he was running towards the pressure. It's like, dude, stay in the pocket. I mean, what's the deal there?
Yeah, that was a big issue for him, and it's something that you saw at times as a rookie, but I don't think it was to this level. Even like the, I think that something we got to keep in mind. I posted like a chart of the Titans pressures allowed, like by player, that you were alluding to, and I got a lot of responses of like, yeah, but a lot of these Will Levis was stepping into or drifting into. No, when the pressure is the quarterback's fault, that doesn't get charted as a pressure just like on whoever the nearest offensive line was. That gets charted as a quarterback pressure, like by at least how PFF does it, and they are negatively graded for it. So on top of all of the pressures that you see the O-line allowed, Will Levis was also responsible for a lot of pressures in his own right. And yeah, I mean, he's got to stay centered in the pocket, or like this is not going to be a functional offense, because you can't have a weak offensive line and a quarterback that's frantic with his pocket movement and bringing additional pressures onto himself. Like there's just no way that's going to work. And yeah, it's got to be frustrating from a coach's standpoint, because I totally get what Callahan's saying, which is like you coach these techniques and then you go out and practice in kind of a calm, low stakes environment, and everything looks exactly how it's supposed to look. And so you kind of have that expectation going into the year, but you see it all the time where you'll get these great training camp reviews, and then when the light comes on and they're under fire, it's like all the technique goes out the window and you kind of revert to what you're used to. So seems like that's kind of the dynamic that was going on.
Right. And I do want to get some people who brought up Will Callahan's comments, the one he made about the punting thing. We'll get to that next. Guys, I do want to do a little housekeeping. This show is powered by Recovery Unplugged. They're actually my employer. They're an amazing company. If you are struggling with mental health, substance abuse, addiction, any type of mental health disorders, Recovery Unplugged is they have facilities all over the country. They have one here in Nashville, Tennessee. They offer inpatient, outpatient, detox, medically assisted detox, residential inpatient and outpatient, and virtual outpatient for mental health and addiction. Their number is pinned in the comment. The link's in the description. For their website, their number. If you guys, if you don't want to go that route, you can personally email me, titansrossi@gmail.com. Everything is strictly confidential. Everybody's got people out there who struggle. I mean, most of us nowadays, unfortunately, in this day and time, we all know a loved one. We've had a friend. We've had somebody who is or has struggled with mental health issues, with addiction, all that type of stuff. So if you guys know anybody, if you are, please feel free. Link is in the description. So, all right, James, getting to the comments. I got a really quick video of Callahan talking about punting on the first down.
It was situational. We were playing so good on defense that it's almost as if, I mean, if we just punted it on 1st and 10 every time, we might have won the game the way that, you know, we gave it away. So, there's.
So a lot of people talking about this, a lot of criticisms, outside noise. I made a post this morning. It's already got like 40 comments. Basically, what do you think? What do Titans fans think of this comment? You know, the criticism is that he's, you know, he's bringing down the locker room. It's a bad message for Will Levis. It's a bad look and all this and that. And I personally think I like it. I mean, you know, we talk about Mike Vrabel, right? How he would never talk to the media. He didn't like talking. He talked to the media, but he didn't like talking to them. What are your thoughts on this? Does it send a bad message? Do you think it's accountability? What are your thoughts?
So my assumption is that if a coach says something negative like that in a press conference about a player, they've probably said something even more harsh to them in person. You know, like I would bet that Brian Callahan was pretty pissed at Will Levis and had some not nice words for him that were probably, like, you know, more extreme than what he said in that answer. So, you know, that would be my first thing, is that I think he probably already covered his bases there. The second thing, and I don't know the answer to this, but I always am I sort of question when people, you know, say that like a press conference comment is going to bring down locker room morale, because I don't really know how often NFL players are like watching press conferences, you know, of their coach.
Right.
That doesn't seem like something I would do if I was a player. Obviously, if a clip goes viral and like one of the aggregator accounts pick it up, they'll probably see it. But I'm always kind of skeptical of when people say that like the way a coach talks in a press conference and how they phrase their answers are going to like have some major effect in the locker room. I don't think so. I mean, I've honestly no complaints about how Brian Callahan has conducted himself in press conferences at this point.
Yeah, and I actually like it, man. I like how transparent he is, and he, you know, he told in that video, I don't have the thing on the banner made for it, but he said that he had told Will Levis before the play, like, hey, they haven't done anything on offense all game. Like, basically, just don't screw it up. Like, don't turn the ball over. Like, take the sack, do whatever you have to do. Like, I'm cool with punting. You know, they were on like the 30-yard line, 35 or something. Even if you take the sack and you back up 10 yards, you got freaking one of the best punters in the league, one of the strongest legs in the league in Stonehouse. Reverse the field, get them inside the 20, the 10, put it on your defense, who has basically rocked them the whole game, and see what happens. And I mean, obviously it was a terrible decision by Will Levis. The question is, can he learn from these mistakes? Can he stop repeating the same mistakes that he made at Kentucky, the same mistakes that got him booted out of the first round of the NFL draft? I mean, these are all the things, the criticisms of Will Levis. And look, it's game one, right? We're going to overreact. Titans fans are going to overreact. I probably overreacted when I was tweeting during the game. Who knows? But I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't know. I mean, is Will Levis, do you think he can fit in what Brian Callahan wants to do on offense?
Yeah, it's definitely concerning. You know, not really working in his favor is the fact that they've been hammering home the point for so long that he needs to stop avoiding hits, and he's, you know, launching himself into contact when he's already past the first down marker. You know, there's probably a more disrespectful way I can say this, but I wonder if he has the ability to prevent himself from making bad decisions, aka like, is he just an idiot?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yes. And, like what really irritated me more than anything, James, was like, look, I get like he loves lowering the shoulder. He loves like he's got like this mentality where he likes to punish the defense. But at the same time, dude, like this is the NFL. Like even these guys, even the practice squad players on an NFL team are elite. Like you're not dealing with college anymore. Yeah, he played in the SEC, he played in the Big Ten, but the level of strength, conditioning, the way these guys hit, like at some point or the other, you saw him on the sidelines with the heating pad on his back. It's like, dude, you can't keep doing this. Like you're eventually going to get rocked to where you're not going to be back in the game and you're putting your team at jeopardy. Like this is not, I don't know, dude. It just irritates me so much, man. And it's like, I get it. The occasional hit, the Jalen Ramsey hit last year was brilliant. It was awesome, But man, like, I don't know. Do you see the same thing I am? Does it irritate you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you're doing it like 3rd and 1 in a playoff game or, something like that, but a really high leverage situation, but he's doing that in the he's doing that in the preseason. It's just, and Callahan said multiple times that it's something I'm sure every coach has done this, sat him down and tried to explain how it's, one play isn't worth ruining the whole season and give the logical explanation for it. But it's kind of, it's past the point where it's like cute or endearing that he has this golden retriever brain and is just like launching himself into players. It's like, dude, you gotta slide. It's, none of the other stuff matters really.
Yeah, man. I mean, maybe they need to bust out the slip inside like they did for Caleb Williams. I mean, come on, dude. Like it's crazy. And him like running up and down the sideline, screaming like a madman. Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems like, I wonder how like the team is taking him. Like, is it just normal, like, bravado, normal, like reaction? Or is this something that's like an issue where he's just like too hot headed? And is the offense sitting over there like, what the crap? Like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like I
would guess players don't have as big of an issue with it as coaches or fans do. That would just be my guess.
Right. It's just, I don't know, man. I hope he pans out. We need him to, and like there's a poll in the chat and I'll get your thoughts on this before we leave. The poll question is, and this is it's an overreaction poll more than likely, but I thought it would be fun. How many bad games or losses, bad games / losses, would you allow Will Levis to have before benching him for Mason Rudolph? And the answers are none, give him a whole season, half of a season, quarter of the season, or now he's not it. So the chat, and there's over 40 votes, the chat thinks that none, give him the whole season, is 39%. That leads. Half of the season, 29%. Quarter of the season, 24%. Now he's not it, 7%.
I'm glad I don't work. I'm glad I don't work for that 7%. Like I have one bad day at work and I'm done.
We'd be done, man. I'd already be done. But what's your question on that? Or
I would say the full season for this reason. First of all, like you have to come out of this year with a definitive answer about whether or not you need to draft a quarterback in 2024 or in the 2025 draft, excuse me. And so I would give him all the time that we needed to get that answer. Now, if we get to game 12 and we're still questioning it, that alone probably gives you your answer. But the reason I would still play him is because if we're talking about drafting a quarterback and Will Levis hasn't played well enough to warrant another year. That means the Titans probably aren't a very good team and don't have a good record. And even if Mason Rudolph gives you a slightly better chance at winning, like I would play the younger player and like not really worry about wins and losses. And at that point, like Levis would at least be more entertaining than Rudolph, who's like a solid backup, but not really going to make a ton of exciting plays.
Right. I mean, how many wins, how many wins does Rudolph account for if Levis is awful? I mean, I think at this point, you got to stick with him, see what happens. He's only played 10 games in his NFL career. Last year, he was thrown into a terrible situation. See if the offensive line can get it going. If the offensive line doesn't get it going, we're done. I mean, the offense is just done. So I think a lot of it hinges on that. But guys, we got to wrap it up there. I actually have to get to work to Recovery Unplugged, but I work from home, which is cool. But I have to get to work. But guys, please go follow James on X. He's got a great X Twitter account, whatever you call it, at No Flags Films, and follow AtoZ Film Room. Also, I see you're doing some stuff for like the 33rd degree or something like that.
33rd team. Yeah.
33rd team. Okay. Yeah. So he's got a lot of stuff going on, and deservedly so. Sir, we appreciate you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. And that's going to do it for us today, folks. Tighten up that like button if you haven't yet. 114 people in the house. So hit that like button for us if you haven't yet. And we'll be live tomorrow morning as well. We'll see you later. Tighten up, everybody.